everyone, and welcome to Team Talk. I am your co-host, Mark Guerrier, along with my good friend over here, Milton Corsey.
Mark, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Getting ready for the new year.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
I used your quote, man. I'm telling you. I don't know if I need to pay you for this, but I say the same thing that you've said to a number of people. Can't wait for 2020 to end so I can make sure that it's over.
Absolutely. I've definitely, lately, in the last few years, I haven't been staying up and doing a lot for New Year's Eve, but I'm staying up this year because I'm going to make sure 2020 actually freaking leaves. I've had enough.
So, anyway. On Team Talk, we talk to people all the time about how to build inclusive and diverse organizations.
Right.
And I can't tell you how happy I am to have Marsha Guerrier here with us today from HerSuiteSpot, CEO of HerSuiteSpot. Marsha, great to have you on the program on Team Talk. Welcome.
Good morning, guys.
Zooming in from Valley Stream, Long Island. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely.
Great to have you on the show.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, Marsha, why don't we kind of jump right into the interview? I'm really excited to talk to you and get your insights. So we're going to jump right in. And the first question I have for you, because I know that you work with entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how can you build, or how can we build a more inclusive, entrepreneurial ecosystem, if you would?
Oh, well, that's a fantastic question, getting right into it. I think right now, especially, I work primarily with a lot of women, small businesses, and building a entrepreneurial ecosystem for us would mean being included in conversations of development and growth, whereas funding is concerned. We are the fastest growing group of new entrepreneurs out here, and yet we are the last to get considered for venture capitalist opportunities and funding opportunities. And I think that if we begin to look at women of color, particularly as viable entrepreneurs and CEOs and innovators, we can build that ecosystem that includes women of color, women, marginalized groups in the venture capital space where we all win and we can all reap benefits from supporting and educating and funding these new businesses.
Marsha, what are some of the barriers to getting women of color, especially Black women, into the entrepreneurial field and building that inclusivity? You and I have talked about this a number of times, and to me, I love this. There's a new ad that American Express has out there.
Okay.
And it's something like, I could be wrong, and if I am, please correct me, but it's something like 738 African-American women start a new business every day. I don't know if it's every day, but it's something like that. People need to understand that there's a gigantic ecosystem opportunity out here, right?
Absolutely, there is. I think the number, I don't know if that's a more recent number, but we are looking at least over 60% of new businesses being created and developed by African-American women of color in particular.
Yeah.
And I feel that right now we are looking to be seen, we're looking to be heard. Oftentimes we don't see ourselves in spaces that are offering venture capital, right? We don't see ourselves in leadership roles. And because we're not seeing ourselves there, imposter syndrome begins to build within us. And we think, okay, I have this feeling, I have this idea, I know. And we watch Shark Tank and we watch all these entrepreneurial shows, and we see people and we think, I can do that. Right. But because we're not seeing ourselves reflected, and representation matters in everything we talk about, right? Whether it's work, whether it's entrepreneurship. And because we're not seeing ourselves, it's hard for women to take the leap of faith and go into entrepreneurship as a means of, validating themselves financially.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers that Mark gave and the statistics that you just gave were really, fantastic. And I'm going to ask a question that's a little bit off script, but it's going to satisfy my own interest. And that is, what do you think is like the driver? You see so many, like you said, was it 60% of new businesses being started by women of color, and Mark said, what, 700 new businesses are started every day by women and women of color. Like,
Right.
What do you think is driving that? What do you think is driving that?
I'd like to say most of the women that I work with, by the way, are actually working full-time jobs in corporate America, in the workforce. And we're looking for ways to do two things: fill our wage gap, right? Oftentimes, people are going into entrepreneurship, or the gig economy, as they call it now, to earn more income for either a particular purchase or just to live day to day. And another thing that I'm seeing women go into entrepreneurship is for promotion, for self-promotion, to see ourselves as CEOs, to see ourselves as leaders, because we're not given those opportunities in our careers. And so while we're not rushing to leave corporate America and leave our workplace, we are validating ourselves through entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Marsha, you and I talked about this before too, and that is having multiple streams of income, and having a job and feeling like, okay, I'm going to start my own business on the side, or, build it up. And as I'm building it up, maybe I'll stick with my job, or maybe I won't, maybe I'll just go through whatever. But you said something really, really interesting and pretty cool earlier. And that is, Milton and I have had multiple conversations about something. He coined it, and I think this is from your time as a professor, expectation theory, where you are expecting someone to do something, and you're in a family setting where everyone expects you to go to college, right? Or they're expecting you to, be a tradesperson or whatever. I think that when you start to get women to start recognizing that they're expected to become entrepreneurs or, leaders in corporate America, that's when things will start to change, right?
I love that. I wish that everyone could adopt that theory and that notion that if we give them the tools to allow them to expect that that's what we want from them, then absolutely, women could truly soar in there and thrive as side gig economy workers and full-time employees as well. I think that is such a great point that you bring up, is that it's really because we are oftentimes taught to look for validation outside, and when we don't get that, right. It becomes too much for us to bear on our own to validate. And that's why I do the work that I do, because I want to make sure that women see themselves before they expect other people to validate them too.
Yeah.
That's really fantastic stuff, and it's I love the idea, or I love the idea that we're not being given opportunities, so we're going to create our own. That is unbelievably empowering. So I think that's fantastic. Really love that. If you wouldn't mind at this point sharing with us and the audience a little bit about HerSuiteSpot, kind of like what it is you do, who do you work with, how do you help the folks that you work with?
Bingo.
Absolutely. So HerSuiteSpot is a private networking organization for women that are seeking leadership as a way to advance their economic success. I work with organizations that are really interested in developing the next generation of leaders, and those new leaders coming up want to have that entrepreneurial spirit. They want to have that and bring that to their workforce. And I work with individuals that are navigating between employee and employer and really fulfilling their personal passions through entrepreneurship, and primarily working with women in many sectors. I've worked with women that are educators that are looking to promote themselves financially, right? And looking for additional income, because we know the education field is not one of the top earners in our country. So oftentimes a lot of these women are looking for other means to develop and bring in income. And it's not always feasible for them to just have another job. And they realize that passions that they've had, whether it's baking, whether it's a passion for fashion and or beauty, they can take those passions and actually develop businesses where other people may want to support them and actually purchase the services and the products that they have to offer. And so we do this through a number of ways. We, at HerSuiteSpot, we provide an ecosystem of community where peer-to-peer learning happens at HerSuiteSpot, where we connect entrepreneurs together that are like-minded, that are similar in business, because I build an environment where there is no such thing as competition, and we learn from each other. And it has really proven to be very beneficial. At first, I was kind of concerned that people would be, well, that person is doing something similar to me, and I don't want to give away my secrets. But the members are finding that when they do collaborate within their own industry, it really sparks something dynamic for them, and they're able to excel, feel more fulfilled and happy with their progress for their business.
Where do people, how do you find new clients, Marsha? What's the, I know besides social media and everything and word of mouth, how are you finding new clients coming to HerSuiteSpot? By the way, suite is spelled like you would expect it to be spelled, S-U-I-T-E, for like the the C-suite.
Right. So HerSuiteSpot, S-U-I-T-E spot. And we find that oftentimes my clients find me. It's not just through the social media, but prior to pandemic 2020, I've been, speaking at speaking engagements and really in-person networking has been one of the ways that I have met my clients. But the interesting thing about 2020, my business has been primarily digital before this year, and helping some of my clients go digital was the main thing that we did this year in helping people, not only survive inside their business because people were ready to throw in the towel because again, they're navigating between employee and employer. Things became a lot more stressful and hectic. I myself became a homeschool mom. And so we added all of these things together, and I really gathered everybody together and said, this is not the time to give up. This is the time where your potential customers and your customers need you the most because they're suffering. So I've been able to really help people build their own leadership positions within their businesses to keep thriving in this year. And this year we've been able to connect with organizations that are truly interested in understanding the holistic person that is working for them, the people that are those with side businesses, and they want to learn more about why they chose a side business and how to better support them. So I've been working with a couple of small organizations where we could help them really understand the landscape of the side gig economy.
Great.
Gotcha, great.
Marsha, we're going to have to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we could talk to you for hours. I guarantee that. But unfortunately, the show's only a half hour. We're going to have to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back with more from Marsha Guerrier from HerSuiteSpot, CEO of HerSuiteSpot, right after this message.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hippity hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hippity hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 100.
Welcome back to Team Talk. I'm your co-host, Mark Iorio, along with my sidekick over here, Milton Corsey, co-running back.
Yeah, we have to have a conversation about the whole sidekick thing, but that's for another day.
Marsha's already said, listen, man, she said she loved your idea of expectation theory. I gave you credit for that. You should have said thank you.
Well, listen, you had to. I'm sitting right here. You couldn't steal it in front of me. But anyway,
we have Marsha Guerrier with, did I say it right that time?
I'll just leave it alone.
Okay, CEO of HerSuiteSpot. Marsha, I love having you on the show. So far, you're one of the coolest guests we've had, regardless of what Milton says about your last name and my pronunciation of it. Listen, I'd asked you right before the break about how you find new clients, and you said a lot of people find you through social media and like face-to-face networking. But with Zoom and everything, with the pandemic, it's been a little tough. But you've run some pretty large conferences. Tell us about that too.
I have. I've been running the Her Rise conference for 7 years now. We just hosted our 7th annual event, and it's a 2-day conference for women. We connect them with the leaders, the education, the tools, resources they need in order to rise in their career or their business. And this year we went all digital. It was a 2-day, full-packed, jam-packed 2-day digital event where we have experts in fields of, I love to say that there are 4 M's in business that I concentrate on and ensure that I am teaching and instilling in my members is mindset, money, marketing, and media. Okay. And so we focus in those 4 areas in our education, whether it's for your career or your business. People often don't think that for their career, they still need, if they're looking to advance, especially if you're looking to advance in the C-suite, you need to have some level of exposure in media. You need to become a thought leader and to show that that work as a leader. And so we've been hosting the event this year for our 7th anniversary. We had a pitch contest, our second one of the 7 years, and we gave away this year we gave away over $20,000 in grants for women. Wow. Entrepreneurs that were impacted, whose businesses were impacted by COVID and otherwise was left out of the PPP and the funding that was made available to small businesses. And we learned this year that a small business can be a publicly traded company of over 500 employees, which doesn't make sense. So the real companies that need it, the solopreneurs, the women that are on the ground within their communities, truly hiring within their communities and providing valuable and important information, resources, and products within their companies. We help them by providing them with a grant, which we continue for 2021 as well.
Great. That
is super cool. Yeah. You know, one of the coolest things about the whole show, Marsha, as Mark had alluded to, is we get an opportunity to speak with people like yourself, you know, and who are so interesting. And one of the things that I've noticed with everybody we've talked to is that you can feel the energy, you can feel the passion coming through for what they do. And same thing here, I can feel it with you. You know, even though we're not in the same space right now, I can just sense it. And what I like to kind of know, and I'd like you to share with our audience, is kind of like, where does that passion come from? Or, you know, what motivates you? What drives you to do the work that you do?
That's a great question, and it gives me pause because just hearing the question and knowing my response, I get a little emotional because it comes from within. It came from me being the person that I want to help. You know, many years ago when I was starting my business and my side hustle, I felt like there wasn't opportunity for me. I wasn't being seen and heard beyond, you know, my initial core customers. And I knew I wanted to build something more global. I wanted to impact more lives with the work that I was doing. And for that, I said, you know what, let me develop something where other people have to feel the same way. And I want to help others get the resources and get the tools. So I built the passion because of my own personal need. And I find that the more work that I've been doing with entrepreneurs and the more studying I'm doing of why women seek certain businesses is truly out of passion for what they're the first customer. So I myself have been my first customer where I wanted to learn more about the space of being an entrepreneur. I actually work in fintech as my full-time job, and I've worked with startups. So being able to be in those startup environments is something that I truly love, and being able to help other women that are like me, that look like me, get to places where I was fortunate to be able to be invited into certain spaces because of my background in FinServe and FinTech. And many women don't have those same opportunities. They don't get to meet cool people like you that are making an impact out here. And I want to connect them to all of those resources.
Did you say cool people like Milton or cool people like us? I was just
Both of
clarifying.
you.
Thanks. I was just checking. I was just
Stop.
checking.
Hey,
I was
listen.
just checking.
You
That's
gotta
all.
listen. Begging for compliments doesn't befit
I was just
you, man. It just
asking
doesn't
Marsha
befit
what
you.
she was saying about cool people. I was just clarifying
you
that.
heard
man.
it the first
That's all.
time. Whatever, dude. Whatever.
Hey Marsha, we absolutely. We love what you're doing. We love what you're doing, and that passion obviously comes through. You know, it feels, it exudes that level of energy and everything from you to us. We feel it. Tell us a little bit about a proud moment, case study, a person that you really have helped, and you know maybe they've seen that help and now they're giving back as a result of that. I know you've got a lot of great stories to tell.
I do. I have one, but one that is really prevalent right now because of this year. I've worked with a young lady, Marjorie. She has been in the floral design business, and a side passion of hers as she worked her full-time job for many years. And I've worked with her in order to help her really build a foundation of being able to sustain the business while she's working. And unfortunately, she lost her job this year because of COVID in 2020.
Yeah.
And yet, immediately we went to work to develop and improve her processes for her business in her marketing so that she's actually thriving now in her business. She never saw herself doing it full time because she always wanted to, you know, maintain her position at her job and maintain some of those added benefits that come with corporate America and employment. And so when she was forced into full-time entrepreneurship, she was able to see that the business could actually support her. And that's really something that I think women often forget, that corporate America and the workforce is at will. And at times things happen where you will need to be your own provider. And having those side businesses could help you in the long run. You know, God forbid you do lose your job or something happens where you are unable to work that job, but a passive income project can certainly fill those voids financially. And she has been able to see very, very good success and is almost in a place of replacing her salary. She's not there yet, but she is in a position where when she put herself all out, and truly improved and stepped up her marketing and her sales efforts because now she has more time to do that. She has been able to really make a great success. And this year, because of COVID and because of people's mental health, the floral business, believe it or not, on the digital level has been really great for her. People wanted to send more gifts of compassion and just to brighten up somebody's day because of the things that were happening. And she's been able to really build a successful business even within this time.
Great. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
We're wishing Marjorie Margie or Marjorie?
Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Yeah.
Wish her luck.
No, absolutely. It's fantastic. And it's interesting when you were sharing with us, Marsha, a couple of things came to mind. You know, I've had the good fortune throughout my career to be in rooms with some of the captains of industry, some of the leaders, some of the largest organizations in the country and the world. And the one thing that I found out, and I think that what you guys are doing is so vitally important, and you need to share that message over and over again, is the thing that I found out is that those people that you might read about in the Wall Street Journal or Fortune magazine or that you might see on a morning show, they're people. They're just like you. You know, there's nothing unique and special about them. They just took the chance.
Yep.
And never quit. Like, you know, one of there's a story that an entrepreneurial friend of mine shared with me one time a few years ago, and he said, the entrepreneurs that win are typically the ones who don't quit. Not necessarily the one that had the greatest idea, not necessarily the one that is the smartest, or it's just the person who doesn't quit. So I think what you're doing is providing a vital service, and thank you so much for that. The last question that I think we have for you is one that we always ask our guests at closing, and that is kind of like, is there a person who's inspired you? This could be your mother, your father, your kids, your sisters, brothers, whatever. Is there somebody who inspired you?
I have such a huge family, and there could be so many people I talk about, but my grandmother, who is no longer with us, I have a nonprofit organization that I named after my grandmother, the Eva Jordan Foundation. And she is the person that truly has inspired me. I watched my grandmother in an age where she left her job as her grandchildren were being born to support her children. And she has predominantly girls. She has 10 kids, but 6 girls.
Wow.
And so my mom and her sisters are super close. And I truly see my grandmother build this ecosystem of women supporting women, although they're sisters, but they don't have to like each other, but they like each other beyond loving each other. And they supported one another. And I've taken everything that I watched my grandmother do and my mom and her sisters do to build this environment where women were truly supported. And that is one of the reasons why I felt very empowered and passionate about doing this for women, particularly women of color, because I've seen, where women don't always support one another. And I wanted to say, hey, that when we support each other, we all rise.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I love to say. And so my grandmother and my mom and her sisters are the people that inspire me.
Marsha, this has been an absolute pleasure. We are so proud of the work that you're doing and continue to want to help you promote it through avenues like this, through Team Talk and other ways to get the word out about what you're doing with HerSuiteSpot. So thank you very much for joining Milton and me on Team Talk. Could you please tell us how to get in touch with you? Milt, before we go, do you have anything else for Marsha?
No, Mark, I think you said it all, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a fantastic interview. Thank you so much for coming. I love the story you said about your grandmother and how she inspired you. And I actually, I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter, and I'm going to make sure that they watch this episode because, you're inspiring to that next generation of women, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome
Thank
stuff.
you guys for having me. I truly appreciate the platform that you have and inviting me to share my story and really the story of so many other women of color that are just like me, that really just want to build an inclusive world. And you guys are doing an amazing thing. So thank you. Everyone can find me at HerSuiteSpot.com. You can find me on all social media platforms, and my handle is HerSuiteSpot. That's SUITE, HerSuiteSpot. And thank you for all that you're doing. And I wish you guys happy 2021 as we usher out 2020.
We agree.
Yes.
Thanks, Marsha.
Yes.
We really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful, wonderful show.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for Team Talk. We'll see you next time. Be safe, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.